This last panel for today, moderated by me, with amazing friends, colleagues, and just beautiful people out here talking about digital fashion and innovation in fashion. Even though this is the last panel, I feel as energized as ever. I feel that I had this warm up in the previous panel. So guys, I'm gonna be super harsh on all of you. I'm gonna ask super spicy questions. I'm just kidding. Today, we're gonna talk about the trends and the vision for digital fashion, innovation in fashion for the rest of 2024. We're exactly in the middle of year 2024, which I do believe is a perfect timing for us to revise and review what has been done and what has been achieved in the space already, and what to expect for the rest of the year. Today with me, I have Mathieu coming from the Sandbox, coming together with me from Paris, which I'm super. Actually, we have everyone out here from France. It's like a very. Should we turn to French? Yeah. No. Okay. Okay. Matthew from the Sandbox, Victor, who you already had a chance to listen to earlier today, representing Bean Crypto, and Omer, representing Chat Labs. Just on the previous panel talking about AI, we had a chance to chat with your founder. Now we're going to hear about your perspective on innovating fashion here in Europe. Guys, I want to start the conversation by asking this very simple question. Do we consider digital fashion a small brother of its traditional counterparty, or are we already at the stage where we can just say there is one word, fashion, whether you're talking about innovation, traditional space, or anything else, it's all called fashion. Matthew, I see that you have a smile on your face. Please share with us, what do you have to say?
It really depends on which angle do you look at it. So if you look at it, I guess, from a purely business perspective, the fashion industry is $2 trillion dollars. So digital fashion is obviously way far from that. So definitely it's the small brother from a purely business perspective. But if you look at the usage, I think it's interesting to acknowledge that we are turning points. Basically, 50% of the global population is now digital natives. And those digital natives obviously spend time on digital, on games. Recent studies showed that in the US, those digital natives spend more times in game than in front of TV. And if you ask them, obviously, what is fashion for them, they might refer to their Nike Air, but also maybe to their Fortnite skins. So for them, it's already blurring. And brands obviously understand that at two layers, I would say. One is because they need to adjust their media buys or their advertising depending on the consumptions. And two, they understand there is a cultural aspect also, especially in the gaming side. So that's why, at least in the Sandbox, we see a lot of brands like Gucci, like Maison Margiela, Charles & Keys, Paris Hilton, people from the industry coming because they want to be relevant to those digital natives. So I would say, in this context, it's a small brother growing very fast.
Small brother becoming something more special, something bigger. Victor, I do believe this is a very interesting question to you, because I want to know, when you're covering digital fashion and Being Crypto, are you calling it within your colleagues, within your team, as a digital fashion, Web3 fashion, just fashion? Because I do believe that would also answer the question.
That's a good yeah, you answered kind of. So, yeah, quickly, I write for Being Crypto, and so we cover all Web3 news and educational content. And I also wrote Fashion in the Metaverse chapter in the World Crypto book, so that's why I'm interested in that industry. I totally agree with you, Mathieu. I looked at some numbers, and McKinsey is thinking digital fashion is going to be representing 5% of the total gross revenue of fashion in the next few years. So it's going fast, but it's still little. So yeah, it's the little bro of fashion. And to answer your question, yes, we do call it digital fashion with my colleagues. So it's still, if we count in dollars, yes, it's a little brother. But I think people in fashion, they differentiate fashion and just the textile industry. So fashion is just not textile. So to them, digital fashion is just a part of fashion, not just another entity. It's part of it.
Actually, I love hearing it because I know that a lot of media, especially when we're talking about immersive press, Web3 press, they're distinguishing digital fashion, sometimes even Web3 fashion next to digital fashion, traditional fashion. So good to know. Omer, just before we go to you, I want to congratulate you actually on your very first panel ever. Like,
thank you so much, Nikki.
I truly mean it. I'm really happy that you are sharing the first panels, the first talks, the first experience with us here today. As your founder previously shared with us, you have a huge portfolio working with traditional brands. So talking about traditional brands, do they look at what we're discussing here as digital fashion, or is it just fashion for them? Just a different direction, just a new tool in fashion, if I may say so.
Yeah, so thank you, Nikki, for inviting us. And just for the new faces that might not seen Michelle, what we're doing in Chat Labs, we're doing AI-powered social experiences for the brands. We're happy to be working with LVMH because we won Data and AI Award last year from the LVMH. So we're working with Tiffany, with Dior, and the other things. And normally what we're facing is that in the social media, when you are sparking people into getting to the experience of getting into the e-commerce, there is a problem because now we are talking about digital assets, right? With digital, there is a lot of storytelling that you can share. But the problem is that when people get into the e-commerce, you don't have this kind of like digital storytelling. And then the thing is that people tend to bounce. So we created a mid layer that holds all the content, digital assets, all the products, but also the call to action that now understand for the people that actually interacting with these digital things, what are you doing in terms of the storytelling of the brand? And then it engage more and it converts more. And so for your question, I think digital assets is super important because in fact, these are all the things that regarding the digital area that we are all celebrating here in the NFC Lisbon, is that digital is the first thing that you're doing in social media, right? You're not going into the physical store yet. And then I think this is kind of like answering your question. Is it?
It is. It absolutely is. I do believe when I was preparing the next question or discussing with you guys, I felt like I can come up to it from different perspectives, taking into account that each of you are doing something, all of you are doing something a bit different in terms of digitalizing fashion. So here, we're talking directly about Web3, Metaverse. Here, in case of Victory, we're talking a bit more about technology, blockchain specifically. And once again, Omer, in your case, it's more on the side of AI. So the question I want to ask you guys, and perhaps we can start with you, Omer, this time. Do you believe that the digital fashion, the fashion space that we are talking about right now, it's evolving fast enough, it's evolving good enough with AI solutions that we have out here? Or do you believe that it is still a bit too early, coming back to our conversation on the previous panel?
Exactly. So regarding the previous panel, what we discussed about is that AI is very fast in terms of the way that they developed. And so I believe in our case, with the AI that we create all this storytelling, it's very important to have this digital and all this kind of like pace with the AI to engage better with the audience. Yep.
Because in case of you, Victor, I'm not going to ask the same questions if you believe that it is there, if it's going well, because I know that blockchain specifically, technology, when we're talking about blockchain technology itself, it has proven itself to be one of the best nowadays solution for luxury brands to innovate. Once again, coming back to the discussion of DPPs, digital marketplaces, NFTs, everything can be, everything is on the blockchain. So the question I have for you, what is the single best thing that blockchain brings to fashion space?
I mean, there are like the obvious answers of how you can trace the product, identify where it's coming from, prove that it's a real one. So I think blockchain is the best way, if not the only way to do this. But I'll say my favorite thing, tell me if you agree, what Web3 brings to luxury brand, Web3 is going to make luxury even more luxury. Follow me on this. So what used to be very fancy, very fancy, used to be that you would make tailored clothes for yourself. But with ready to wear, now you're purchasing luxury products, but they are the same that anybody else can purchase. Thanks to NFTs and the metaverse and digital fashion, you're going to be able to personalize those luxury brands products to yourself, and it's going to be just made for you. So it's going to make luxury products unique, more unique to you. And that's, I think, a better version of luxury. And that is brought by Web3.
And I do believe that when it comes to personalization, this is why I personally choose some of the brands. This is why I personally choose to wear them, to follow them, to support them. And when it comes to customization or personalization, it's super important to build this strong connection between the brand on one side and customer on the other one. It can be done through loyalty programs. It can be done through community development, community establishment through the blockchain, as we discussed. Here I can mention the example of Dolce & Gabbana, for example, for the last 2 years, bringing their community members and holders of their NFTs to every Milan Fashion Week, to their show, to VIP dinners, to parties, having a chat, having a chance to connect with designers in person, having a chance to connect with the biggest influencers, people who are coming from traditional space, traditional fashion, while you got connected with the brand through digital space. And I do believe this is a perfect case how blockchain is innovating and how blockchain is narrowing down this gap, if any, that existed before in traditional space. Mathieu, I feel like I have to ask you the same questions, but through the lens of Web3, to be more specific, metaverse.
Yes. So first of all, I agree with you both. And we've got a recent example with Maison Margiela, who recently dropped a very exclusive drop of Phygital. So you had your shoes and you are obviously your digital shoes. It was very... The scarcity was very high. So basically, it comes to your point, which is the luxury is even more luxury, but it comes also to your point that because the end users, the customer, had this NFT, they can now be re-engaged in the future. They have announced that they will do like physical events. They will do exclusive drops for those most engaged people. So it's a way to rethink your CRM based on the ownership. So we like to say that those brands are leveraging ORM, so ownership relationship management. So I both agree on that with you. On top of that, if we look into the lens, especially of the metaverse, the open worlds, and the sandbox, I think there is one specific thing which is really interesting for brands is enhance engagement towards the community. First of all, by the time the customers are spending with you in an experience. In average, we see that users are spending 30 minutes on brand experiences in the sandbox. If you think about it, I'm coming from a background where brands can have 30 seconds on TV, 20 seconds on YouTube, maybe 5 or less on TikTok. Think about it. What can you tell in terms of stories, for 30 minutes? It's really incredible. And it's a way also to extend your target audience. It's a way to engage with an audience you wouldn't engage before. And we've got a good example with Gucci, who launched their Gucci Vault experiences, which is basically their vision of fashion, of luxury, mixing artists with vintage elements, vintage items. And they did an activation in 10 different countries with cities including London, New York, Tokyo, etc., to express that. And what they did in the sandbox is the fact that they extended their their pop-ups, but physically. So they could engage people who couldn't go into their physical pop-ups directly in the sandbox and experiencing the same kind of vision of Gucci, mixing the culture, whether it was sports, whether it was arts, directly in the sandbox. So yes, for me, it's really about enhancing the engagement and extending your audience.
And I do believe one super important thing that you just said is basically the definition of blockchain. The blockchain is transparent, and the blockchain itself is perhaps the best tool out there for your customer analysis, for brands to know who your customers are, what do they hold in their wallets, for how long have they been supporting your brand, what are their other interests. I remember back in the days, it was even before Dolce launched their glass boxes. It was before Adidas and Nike announced their Into the Metaverse and Artifact News at the same week in December of 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Back in the days, around 4 years ago, when I was writing my very first Forbes article on digital fashion, this is something that I paid so much attention to. The fact that transparency of blockchain gives almost unlimited opportunities for brands in terms of analysis, research, and decision-making based on this. And it has been many years ago, and more brands have been successfully integrating blockchain for the very specific reason. And we're discussing it here now. I do believe this is one of these key elements why blockchain, key elements why Web3 and how it helps brands to make better decisions, to build stronger bonds with customers, to make more money, to grow as a brand itself. Omer, I see that you have something to add.
Yes, I want to add something about the thing that Mathieu told about. So in our case, with the luxury brand, with all the experience that we're doing within AI, we can share that it's uplifting conversion. So in the end of the day, there is a use case here and everything is like the consumer likes it. So they like the experience, they like the AI persuasive journeys and all this experience as I told you about in the TikTok. When you are joining to TikTok at the first time, you don't need to follow nobody, right? You're just swiping in the For You page and then you get all the content that really relevant for you. So this experience is super relevant for the consumer. And as you said, with the sandbox, it's kind of like the same thing. So the luxury embrace it and understand that the digital, there is a lot of opportunity as social traffic it exists. And yeah, that's what I want to add.
I feel like we need to end our panel by addressing a very serious question. As always, about 5 years ago, if you would ask almost anyone from the audience out here, almost everyone from traditional luxury brands using the blockchain technology right now, whether blockchain would play a huge role in their communication, integration, engagement with customers, I would say that you are cuckoo. Around 3 years ago, no one thought of NFTs, NFT technology, as one of the best loyalty program tools. Just 1 year ago, we started seeing more and more traditional fashion brands integrating AI. So the question I have to all of you gentlemen, what is the next technological advancement that is coming to fashion space that we're going to be refusing till the very last moment when it's here and all of us use it on daily basis? Victor, why don't we start with you this time?
Thank you. As you said, I think nobody's going to believe me. So we're going to spend more time in the metaverse. I know nobody believes it anymore, but I do. I mean, I'm sure you do too. We're going to, like, now that restrictions are going to be gone in the metaverse, so there's no weather anymore, then you can wear whatever you want in a winter. If you want to wear something short in a winter, there's restrictions are leaving. If you want to wear something sexy and maybe in the streets you don't feel safe, then in the metaverse, nothing's going to happen to you, so you can do it. So I'm going further than this. I think your digital twin doesn't have to be human anymore. Let's think about like games like they are the ancestors of the metaverse, like World of Warcraft. We've seen little girl playing, huge, monsters, and we've seen guys playing girl elves. Like, so not only you can play another gender, but you can also play like another, like it doesn't have to be a human digital twin. So if more and more people are using those supernatural creatures as digital twin, then fashion brands have to dress them. So my question would it be native brands, native Web3 brands that are going to dress this supernatural or non-human digital twin, or traditional brands are going to adapt to this? So you probably think I'm crazy right now, but that's what I think is going to change fashion.
That's a spicy question. Maybe we'll leave it for our next conversation next year. Mathieu, what is your take on this one?
I want to reply also to Victor, because I completely agree. And actually, a recent study showed that 53% of the Gen Z feel more themselves in the metaverse than in real life. So, and it doesn't mean that because there's an avatar, but it means because they can look like whatever they want, and we've seen it also with Avatar in the Sandbox. We are not only launching avatars which looks like yourself, if you think about it. So it's different forms, it's different colors. So you can be whoever and whatever you want to be. So for me, once again, it's going to happen, and it's already happening. With this 50% of the population being digital native, this 53% feeling more themselves in the metaverse than in real life. So for me, it's already happening. Maybe we don't see it that much because we don't relate to them that much, but it's already happening. I think for me, the craziest thing, or maybe the hope, would be not really around what will it bring, but what it will not bring, which is the carbon footprints. If we go up to a point where people want to buy things only digitally, even not physically or part of it, and it will have a positive impact on the carbon footprint, I think it would be a kind of a crazy bet in a sense, but it would be yes, a hope maybe.
I don't think that it's a crazy bet at all, because we're talking a lot about efficiency, about user journey, but sustainability is something that a lot of brands are looking forward to. A lot of brands are already adapting, integrating, if not for tens of years and for years for sure. And I do believe digital fashion is here to take it to a whole new level. So makes total sense. Makes total sense. Omer, I know that you are super big on AI. And I know that AI is just getting started, if we may say so. But still, forget about AI for a few minutes. What is your big bet on digitalization and innovation in fashion in the upcoming years?
I mean, in my opinion, you know, digital, it's the end of the day, this is the assets that we're using. So, and you see with the luxury brands, everybody's enhancing it and understanding it. And it's a step by step, but they're not, you know, jumping into the water. They know, so they test it. When they see it is successful, they're going to go and duplicate it to other maisons. And so I think the digital, it's here and to stay. And I think in terms of the blockchain, the thing that we discussed earlier, it's not something it's going to be like a buzzword. It's something it's going to be like in the next stage, we're going to see it more and more, and they're going to enhance it. So, yeah.
I really appreciate that already today, we're not just calling digital fashion as small brother, like digital fashion. We are in the direction of putting it at the same line with the fashion itself. And I do believe it's just a matter of time when digital fashion is equal to fashion, and we call it with one word. The only way to find it out is to stick to the space, to work hard, and see how it evolves. I do believe that throughout these 2 days, we all learned a couple of new things. We all shared a couple of insights, a couple of takes, which would be pretty good coming back next year to NFC Lisbon 2025 to revise those takes and to take a look how far away or how close were we to what is actually happening in fashion and or digital fashion space by then. Guys, I really appreciate you joining me today on this stage. I really appreciate absolutely every speaker who joined me on the fashion stage, has been joining me for the last 2 days. And I appreciate all of you who have been with us, have been supporting, have been listening to us. Guys, you are amazing. And we see all of you at NFC Lisbon 2025. Thank you and see ya.